All right. Hi, everybody. This is Davis from Calkin's Nature Center, Hardin County Conservation. Today, we're going to give you a quick tour of our reptile and amphibian room since everybody's stuck at home in quarantine and in isolation. We're going to start with fish, move on to reptiles. We'll get into maybe a few amphibians, and then I have some baby critters I'm going to show you too. But we'll start with the fish that are in the tank behind me here. Just kind of starting at the bottom there, I do have two species. The first is the yellow perch, which is the yellow colored fish with the orange fins, and then it's got the black vertical bars. In lakes around here, that is a fairly common fish. That is not a fish we often see in the river, unless you're right below Pine Lake, then you will catch them there from time to time. Those guys, when they are small, will actually eat a pretty wide variety of aquatic insects or aquatic macroinvertebrates, such as dragonfly nymphs, damselfly nymphs, stoneflies, mayflies, caddisflies, even small dobsonfly larvae. So they eat a pretty good variety of things, but they will also eat that into adulthood, though they do supplement their diet with minnows, which are the little fish that we have in there, so that is their food for the day. Those are blunt-nosed minnows and fathead minnows. You can just buy those at bait shops. That's kind of your common feeder fish. Then up from those yellow perch, you'll notice there is a fish that has some more definitive lines on it. That is a yellow bass. It's got those horizontal black bars. It's kind of yellow colored. Yellow bass are kind of an interesting critter. They are native to the state of Iowa, though if they are given enough space in certain ecosystems, they will actually totally take over. So if you've heard of places like Lake Cornelia or down in Preston at the 3-mile and 12-mile lakes, they've had issues with them in the past. And that's just because they reproduce a lot. They eat pretty much anything that comes past them, whether that be minnows or bugs. Anything that's basically swimming or living in the water, those guys can eat. They do get fairly large, though really large specimens are fairly rare. I would say that one there is probably a little bit on the large side for your average yellow bass. Generally you see them smaller than that, especially when they're stunted in a lake. But then in that tank there's also bluegill, which is this guy up here. And then there's a green sunfish that's kind of worked his way into the log there. So a variety of panfish that we have there. All native to Iowa, all can be found locally. All these fish can be seen in places like Pine Lake, for example. So more of a lake style fish. Same with this guy here. This is a largemouth bass. Their close cousin, the smallmouth bass, can be found in the Iowa River pretty much all the way through Hardin County. Largemouth are a little more rare, in the river at least. If you go into Pine Lake or pond or reservoir or small creeks, they are pretty common. They just do not like a lot of heavy flowing, fast flowing water. Largemouth bass eat a pretty wide variety of things as well. You'll notice he's got fathead minnows and blunt-nosed minnows down here in the corner. He will also eat, if they were in the wild, things like small mice. They can eat baby ducks. They'll eat salamanders, large worms, tons of different kinds of frogs. So they're pretty general when it comes to what they like to eat. Pretty much a generalist species. And then in the bottom tank there, those are just my feeder minnows for all my fish in the tanks here. In this aquarium here, I have a western hognose snake that is a native snake to Iowa. The reason they get their name hognose snake, their nose is actually upturned and it makes them look a little bit like a pig. One interesting thing that hognose snakes do, they will actually play dead if they are scared, so they'll flip themselves kind of upside down on their backs and they will flick their tongue out and make it look like they're dead, kind of like they're playing possum. But if they do get too scared and the playing dead thing doesn't work, they will strike at you, but they have a hard time biting you because they have a kind of that upturned nose, so it's tough for them to actually get a hold of anything. In the top tank here, just above our hognose snake, we do have a baby milk snake. Really pretty colors on that guy. It's red, has lots of barring on it. That particular snake there, most of their diet is actually focused on small rodents when they are that size, so we do feed them pinkies, which are baby mice. That's also what we feed to the juvenile hognose snake. Once they get big enough, they will get switched over to large mice and maybe some other critters. But the general rule of thumb for snakes, especially when they are small like this, you don't want to give them a piece of food that's too big, otherwise they can choke on it or they might not eat it. But you want that little mouse to be basically the same width as their head so they can swallow it whole. So both of these are constrictors. They are not venomous. So they do bite their food, they squeeze it, and then they have to swallow it whole. So you got to make sure that food's small. This guy here does not eat small food anymore. He eats full-grown mice. For those that have not seen one of those before, that is a fox snake, probably one of our 3 most common snakes here in Iowa. We have garter snakes, brown snakes, and then I would put fox snakes in that mix too for the 3 most common. A lot of people mistake that guy for a bull snake. They are not bull snakes. Bull snakes get significantly larger, and they have some pretty distinct color differences between the 2 of them too. These are ones that you'd see on the road all the time. They pretty well are seen regularly all over the place. Bull snakes are pretty rare. Fox snakes will also shake their tail like a rattlesnake, and they can actually make a rattling noise, and they'll hiss at you just like a rattlesnake. So they do some mimicry to imitate that venomous snake, although these guys are not venomous. They are actually constrictors as well. So they just wrap around their food, they squeeze it, they'll bite a hold of it, and then they just swallow it whole once it's kind of the right condition they want it, whether that be dead or partially alive or whatever. So really cool snake. Above him, I don't think this guy's probably very easy to see right now. He's hidden behind his little rock there, so he's tough to see, but I do have a 5-line skink, which is one of our few lizard species we have. You can just see his little nose and his reflection there. But 5-line skinks, prairie skinks, legless lizards, those are all critters that we have. They're all pretty uncommon though, so pretty cool that we get the opportunity to have one of those. In this tank I have 2 aquatic turtles. I have a red-eared slider, which is this bigger guy up here, and then I have a painted turtle, which is down at the bottom. Red-eared sliders generally are bigger, and then if you actually look behind his eye, it looks like they have a red ear, which is where they get their name. Us scientists were pretty lazy, so they get those real easy names. He's got a red ear, and he likes to slide, so he's a red-eared slider. Painted turtle, looks like somebody painted him, so somebody decided to name him Painted Turtle. So like I said, they're kind of lazy in their naming, but you'll notice red-eared slider is significantly larger, painted turtle smaller. We have more yellow and black coloration on the red-eared slider here, and then this guy's giving you a good show here, but nice orange and yellow coloration on the painted turtle there. So these are super common. I'm sure everybody's seen these before, but cool to look at. One you may not have seen is a terrestrial turtle that we have that is in here. He's kind of got those grass markings on his back. That is an ornate box turtle. And they are a sand prairie critter, so they like to live in sandy prairies. Very uncommon. They are a state threatened species. And then we do have some 3-toed box turtles that Cameron's showing you there. But the ornate box turtle is a native species. They're from Iowa. And to be able to survive cold conditions, because they obviously can't migrate or go underwater or fly or do anything like that, what they actually do instead is they will burrow underground under the frost line, and they will spend their winter in dormancy underneath that frost line. So these guys have huge toenails, they have great digging claws, they just rip up the ground, they get themselves burrowed underneath the substrate, and then they can spend their winter there. They are primarily fossorial though, so they do spend a pretty good chunk of their life underground. And then obviously in the summertime or springtime when it starts to warm up, these guys will emerge from the substrate and they just kind of go on about their business. So they don't move a whole lot. Their range is relatively small, and they're in some pretty isolated places in Iowa. But beautiful turtle nonetheless. And then his buddies, the 3-toed box turtles, are hanging out with him in there too. I do have gray tree frogs. Cameron can show you up close. He's just over here right now. Might be able to see him through the glass. Eastern gray tree frog. It's probably one of our most common frog species we have. They're not really out and about yet, but we are starting to hear frogs like boreal chorus frogs and cricket frogs and things start to get kind of kicked up, so we will start seeing frogs soon. And then my last guy here, I have seen these out on the roads already, even the early part of March. I have a tiger salamander in there. That is our most common salamander in the state of Iowa. We do have a newt species called a central newt that is in certain parts of the states that we do see from time to time, and then we have blue spotted salamanders as well, though those are pretty isolated in their locations. They do find them over in Blackhawk County quite a bit, but blue spotted salamanders you won't find in the same place as tiger salamanders, because tiger salamanders are super predatory. They'll actually eat the offspring of the blue spotted salamander. So you will not find those two in the same place. So the fact that we have tiger salamanders pretty well tells us we don't have blue spotted salamanders here. In here I do have a corn snake. This is Ruby. She is actually getting ready to shed right now, so I'm not going to reach my hand in and try to pick her up or anything. They actually will shed their entire skin, including the skin that's over their eyes, so she actually goes blind for a few days before she gets ready to drop that skin. So if I were to put my hand in there, there's a good chance she takes a strike at me, and if she connects, it's going to be pretty painful, so I'm not going to reach in there. But she's got a lot of room to move around. She's a big snake, you know, around the 4-foot mark, so she's got a lot more room to move versus our smaller guys here. And then kind of our last step, most people have never been back in this room before, but this is just our animal prep room, and this is where we actually have our baby critters right now. So we have some animals that have gone into incubators and have been incubated. And those are primarily going to be birds for us. So we have a few species of upland birds and waterfowl that we do actually raise here at the Nature Center. We do have baby quail. Sometimes we have baby pheasants, sometimes we'll get baby turkeys, but those are a little more rare than the quail. And then we have lots of baby ducks too. So mallards, this is a good time of year for our mallards to start hatching. We'll show you the incubators first so you can get a kind of a visual on what our eggs are looking like. I have well over 50 eggs right now. So this one's half full, but you can see these are quail eggs. You can tell they're quail eggs because if I put my finger up, look how teeny tiny that egg is. It's itty bitty, very, very small. When they come out, you'll get to see, actually here in a second because I have some live ones right now. They are super small. You can fit many of them in a single hand. So little teeny tiny guys. And then just for comparison, here is our mallard egg. So much, much bigger than our little quail egg. And those guys are getting ready to hatch right now as well. So down here, after they've kind of dried out in the incubator, they've been warmed. With quail, they spend about 23 to 25 days in incubation. And mallards will spend about 28 days in incubation. But once they've popped out and they've dried off, we actually put them in this enclosed area here until we can send them off back with mom and dad so that they can grow up a little bit. But they spend their time in here. We have our little mallards and our little quail. We kind of move them around. The first one I have, this is one of our 4 baby mallards we have right now. They're teeny tiny, but you can tell it's a mallard. They have a lot of that yellow and black coloration. They're also a little bit bigger than a wood duck baby. They look a little bit different. But these are 100% mallards. And then you can even see, if I can get a visual on his feet here, they even have those little webbed feet right when they come out. So they are ready to swim and ready to go with mom and dad as soon as they hatch. So they have gotten their swimming in. We put them in the sink until they're big enough to go swim in the big pond with mom and dad. So they have gotten their laps inside the sink. And then our other little baby bird that we have here, this is a baby quail. So teeny tiny, like I said, you could fit multiple of them in your hand. They are itty bitty. They also have huge feet. Let's see if this guy will stand up and maybe show us his toes a little bit. It'd be kind of hard to see. But baby quail, really excellent camouflage. If you look at that coloration, if he's going to be out in the prairie or let's say in shrubby vegetation, maybe like below an oak tree in the leaf litter, he's going to have exceptional camouflage to be able to hide. So that is the reason for that kind of cryptic coloring. Very, very good way to hide themselves. These guys are always talkative. Our mallards obviously peep and make all sorts of noises right now. Very, very talkative. And then our quail do the same thing. They don't whistle like mom and dad do yet, but they do make a lot of noise. Once these guys are in here, we always make sure we have a nice warm heat lamp on them so it keeps them warm. If they get too cold, especially this time of year, being mid to late March, it can be really detrimental if we get a snow day or something to these guys. So we always keep them warm. And then they always have fresh water, and they always have a small granular feed that's got a appropriate amount of protein for them. So we actually feed them the same granular feed, pellet feed that you'd feed to like chickens or small turkeys or things like that, so many farm animals. But this is kind of our back room here, and we hope you enjoyed the tour, and that's about all we have for you. So if you have free time, be sure to stop out, hike trails. Our inside animal building and the Nature Center are closed right now, but you can go out and look at hawks, owls, foxes. We have ducks outside. We have turkeys, all sorts of cool stuff to see. So definitely be sure to stop out, hike the trails, and see those guys. And from Calkin's Nature area, we say thank you.